The chamber is open and full of whispers.
What if the most consequential decision in Harry Potter history had gone differently? What if Sirius Black, standing on that ruined doorstep in Godric's Hollow, had made one different choice? What if grief, instead of blinding him, had cracked through his suspicion just long enough to change everything? This is that story. Not a tale of a boy who survived despite having nothing, but of a boy who thrived because he had everything. A story of two war-scarred marauders raising the boy who lived alongside a Muggle-born prodigy, forging a family so formidable that Hogwarts, the Ministry, and Voldemort himself would face an entirely different war. November 1st, 1981. The night everything changed, Sirius Black stood in the ruins of the Potter cottage at Godric's Hollow, staring at the bodies of his best friends. James lay in the entrance hall, wand still in his hand, eyes open and unseeing. Upstairs, Lily's body was draped across the crib where baby Harry sat crying, a fresh lightning bolt scar bleeding on his forehead. Hagrid found Sirius holding Harry, tears streaming down his face. "Give Harry to me, Sirius," Hagrid said gently. "I'm to take him to his aunt and uncle." Dumbledore's orders, every instinct Sirius possessed, screamed at him to refuse. He was Harry's godfather. James and Lily had chosen him, but another thought cut through the grief like a knife. Peter was secret keeper. Peter betrayed them. "And I'm the only one who knows. Take my bike," Sirius heard himself say, his voice hollow. "I won't need it anymore." Hagrid, relieved, took Harry and the motorbike. Sirius watched them disappear into the sky. Then he apparated, not to London, not to hunt Peter Pettigrew alone, to a shabby flat in Leeds where Remus Lupin lived. Remus opened the door, looking like death. The full moon had been 2 nights ago. He was gray-faced, bandaged, exhausted. When he saw Sirius, his expression went carefully blank. "They're dead," Sirius said. His voice broke. "James and Lily are dead." "I know. I felt it. The wards." Remus stopped. "What are you doing here, Sirius? Shouldn't you be with Harry?" "Remus, I swear on James's grave, it wasn't me. We switched. At the last minute, we thought I'd be the obvious target, so we made Peter secret keeper instead. And Peter," his voice cracked, "Peter sold them to Voldemort." Remus stared at him. Sirius could see the war happening behind his eyes. Suspicion, battling desperately against hope. "Peter?" Remus whispered. "Our Peter. I know where he is. He's going to run. He's probably already planning it. Some dramatic public spectacle to frame me before disappearing." Sirius's hands tightened. "I need your help, Remus. I can't let him get away with this. But I can't do it alone. He'll outmaneuver me if I'm alone." The silence stretched. Then Remus grabbed his wand and coat. "Where is he?" They tracked Peter to a street in London. Not through skill, through knowledge. Peter was predictable. He'd go somewhere public, somewhere with witnesses, somewhere he could stage a dramatic exit. Sirius and Remus arrived just as Peter emerged from an alley, looking frantic and purposeful. "Sirius Black!" Peter screamed, pointing. Muggles on the street turned. "How could you do it? How could you betray James and Lily?" Peter's wand was already moving, the blasting curse forming on his lips. But 2 marauders were faster than 1 rat. "Revelio Animagus," Sirius and Remus shouted in unison. The spell, blue-white light that would harmlessly fail on an ordinary rat, but forcibly reversed an animagus transformation, hit Peter mid-motion. His body convulsed, fur sprouted then vanished, his form flickered between rat and human. Then Peter Pettigrew stood there, wand raised, a blasting curse half-formed, in front of dozens of Muggle witnesses. And 3 Aurors who'd been tracking magical disturbances. "Pettigrew?" one Auror said, stunned. "You're supposed to be dead." Remus hit him with a full-body bind before he could move. "Check his wand," Sirius said coldly. "Prior incantado, you'll find the blasting curse he was about to cast. And probably worse, the senior Auror, a witch named Proudfoot, did exactly that. The ghostly echo of a blasting curse erupted from Peter's wand. Then, horrifyingly, the spectral form of the dark mark. "He conjured the mark," Proudfoot breathed. "When? Probably never," Remus said quietly. "But Voldemort would have taught his servants. The wand remembers. They arrested Peter Pettigrew on the spot. Bartemius Crouch Sr. himself administered Veritaserum 3 hours later. Unprepared, panicking Peter broke completely under questioning. The truth spilled out. The secret keeper switch, the betrayal to Voldemort, the planned frame job. Peter's missing finger, which he'd intended to leave as his remains, was still attached to his hand. By dawn, Sirius Black was a free man. By noon, Peter Pettigrew was in a cell in Azkaban, and the wizarding world was reeling. Sirius went to see Dumbledore the next day. The headmaster sat in his office at Hogwarts, looking older than Sirius had ever seen him. Fawkes sang softly on his perch, a mournful sound. "I want Harry," Sirius said without preamble. "I'm his godfather. James and Lily chose me. I know they did." Dumbledore's voice was gentle but firm. "However, Sirius, there are protections to consider. When Lily died to save Harry, she created magic of the most ancient and powerful kind. I have anchored that magic to her blood, specifically to her sister Petunia. As long as Harry lives with his mother's blood relatives, Voldemort cannot touch him. Voldemort's dead, his body is destroyed, his soul may yet linger." Dumbledore's blue eyes were piercing. "The protection is necessary. Lily's sacrifice lives in Harry's skin," Sirius shot back. "Voldemort's servant Quirrell won't be able to touch Harry regardless of where he lives. That protection is inherent. What you're talking about is an additional layer, the blood wards at Privet Drive. A crucial layer, Dumbledore." Sirius leaned forward. "I was imprisoned without trial. Do you know what the political optics would be if the Ministry, having just discovered they locked up an innocent man, denied me custody of my godson? The public outcry would be massive. And you know what? They'd be right. Harry is my responsibility. Mine and Lily's and James's, not yours. The blood wards can be replaced by the Fidelius charm, the same protection that kept the Potters safe until Peter betrayed them. I'll make Remus secret keeper. Harry will be as safe as magic can make him." Sirius's voice softened. "I'm not asking permission, Albus. I'm telling you what's going to happen. You can work with me, or you can fight me. But I'm taking my godson home." "Very well, but I will maintain oversight. And the Fidelius charm is non-negotiable." "Agreed." Sirius walked out of that office with legal guardianship of Harry James Potter. Remus Lupin, who had nowhere else to go and nothing else to live for, moved into 12 Grimmauld Place 3 days later. Rehabilitating Grimmauld Place was a monument to everything Sirius hated: dark, oppressive, filled with cursed artifacts, dark magic texts, and the screaming portrait of his mother Walburga Black, magically stuck to the wall with a permanent sticking charm. But it was his. The Black family estate had passed to him as the last male heir, entailed property that couldn't be denied even to a disowned son. And it was big enough, warded enough, and isolated enough to keep one infant safe from a world that had already tried to kill him twice. Sirius was 22 years old, grieving, furious, and determined. Remus was 22 years old, exhausted, heartbroken, and methodical. Together, they began the work. The first night, Sirius stood in the entrance hall while Walburga's portrait shrieked insults. "Blood traitor! Filth! Disgrace to the noble house of Black!" He pulled out his wand and began constructing a brick wall directly in front of the portrait. "You can't silence me," Walburga screeched. "I am the matriarch of this house. I will not be." Brick by brick, the wall rose. Remus added silencing charms between each layer. By dawn, Walburga's portrait was entombed behind 3 feet of brick plaster and a nice painting of Sirius's flying motorbike. The screaming stopped. "One down," Sirius said. "Several thousand to go," Remus replied, looking at the doxy-infested curtains. They worked for months. Remus researched counter-curses for every dark object they found. Sirius, who'd grown up surrounded by this exact type of dark magic, knew which artifacts were merely dangerous and which were lethal. The library they curated carefully. Dangerous books were locked in a warded cabinet, but the vast collection of rare magical texts remained accessible. An unparalleled educational resource. The house elf creature was a problem. Old, bitter, loyal to Walburga's ideology, he resisted every change. "Master is ruining the noble house," creature wailed when Sirius threw out a cursed music box. "The noble house was already ruined," Sirius said. "I'm rebuilding it, and you're going to help, creature, because I'm the master now and you'll do as I say. But," he knelt to the elf's level, "I'm not going to treat you the way my mother did. I'm not going to hurt you or mock you. You do your job well, and I'll make sure you're treated with respect. Understood?" Creature stared at him with bulging eyes. Then, slowly, grudgingly, He nodded. It wasn't warmth. Not yet. But it was the beginning of something different. By the time Harry turned 1 year old, Grimmauld Place had been transformed. Still dark-boned, the Black family aesthetic couldn't be entirely erased, but warm, clean. The kitchen gleamed. The library was organized. There were toys in the parlor and a high chair at the table, and the sound of a baby's laughter echoing through halls that had known only coldness for generations. Sirius would collapse into bed some nights and think, "James, I'm doing it. I'm keeping him safe. I'm giving him what we never had." And Remus, reading by candlelight in his room, would think, "I have a family again. I have a purpose." Neither of them said it aloud. Neither needed to. 1985, Finding Hermione Granger. Harry Potter was 5 years old and already showing signs of being his father's son. He flew a toy broomstick around the Grimmauld Place drawing room, while Sirius laughed and Remus tried to explain the physics of aerodynamic charms. He asked endless questions. He had James's wild black hair and Lily's brilliant green eyes, and an absolute fearlessness that terrified Remus and delighted Sirius. "He's going to be insufferable when he gets to Hogwarts," Remus said one evening, watching Harry successfully summon a cushion, wandlessly. Accidental magic, but powerful for age 5. "He's going to be brilliant," Sirius corrected. "Just like his dad." James was an arrogant towerag, and Lily loved him anyway. Sirius grinned. "Harry will be fine. He's got us." That summer, Sirius decided Harry needed more exposure to the Muggle world. Lily had valued both worlds equally, and Sirius was determined Harry would too. They went to Muggle London, Sirius in jeans and a leather jacket, looking like exactly the kind of rebellious aristocrat he was. Remus in a cardigan, looking professorial. Harry holding Sirius's hand and chattering about everything he saw. They were walking through a park when the incident happened. A group of Muggle children were playing. One girl, about 6 years old, stood apart, bushy brown hair, very large front teeth, clutching a book to her chest. The other children were mocking her. "Know-it-all, Hermione, always reading. Don't you have any friends?" The girl's face flushed. She clutched the book tighter. And then, the book began to glow. Other books from a nearby bench lifted into the air, orbiting the girl's head like planets around a sun. The ground beneath her feet cracked, small fissures spreading outward. The other children screamed and ran. "Accidental magic," Remus breathed. "Powerful accidental magic." He approached the girl calmly, hands visible and non-threatening. "Hey there," he said gently. "That's pretty impressive magic you're doing." The girl, Hermione, stared at him with wide, terrified eyes. I can't stop it." "Yes, you can. Take a deep breath. Think about something calm. The magic responds to your emotions." Hermione took a shaking breath. The book slowly lowered. The ground stopped cracking. "There you go," Sirius said, smiling. "You're a witch. Did you know that? A very powerful one, I think." Sirius glanced at Remus, who nodded. "Where are your parents?" 2 Muggles came running. A man and woman in professional clothes, clearly Hermione's parents, looking absolutely terrified. "We're so sorry," the woman gasped. "She didn't mean. She can't control." "It's all right," Remus said calmly. "My name is Remus Lupin. This is Sirius Black. We're wizards. And your daughter is a witch." The Grangers stared at them. "Could we perhaps continue this conversation somewhere more private?" Remus suggested. They met the Grangers at a cafe. Hermione sat between her parents, still clutching her book, watching Sirius and Remus with a mixture of fear and fascination. "Magic is real," Sirius explained. "It's genetic. You're born with it. Hermione is what we call Muggle-born. Both of you are non-magical, but the ability appeared in her. It happens." "Is she in danger?" Mrs. Granger asked. "Not from the magic itself, but accidental magic in children can be dangerous if it's not understood and managed." Remus pulled out a piece of parchment. "When Hermione turns 11, she'll receive a letter from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. That's where young witches and wizards learn to control and develop their abilities. 6 more years." Mr. Granger looked at his daughter, who was levitating a spoon without realizing it. "What do we do until then?" "That's why we wanted to talk to you," Sirius said. "I could teach her. Not formal magic. She's too young for a wand, but the theory. How to manage accidental magic. What to expect. We've got a son." He gestured to Harry, who'd been watching Hermione with open curiosity. "He's younger, but he's magical too. They could learn together. You'd do that? Mrs. Granger asked. For a child you just met? Your daughter is 6 years old and terrified of something she can't control, Remus said quietly. I know what that feels like. If we can help, we should. The Grangers looked at each other, then at Hermione, who'd stopped levitating the spoon and was now staring at Harry with intense interest. What's your name? She asked him. Harry Potter, Harry said. Do you want to be friends? Hermione considered this seriously. I've never had a friend before. Me neither, Harry lied. Sirius made a mental note to correct that later. Want to see my toy broom? It actually flies. Hermione's eyes went wide. Really? The arrangement evolved naturally over the next 4 years. At first, Hermione visited Grimmauld Place on weekends. Sirius and Remus taught her about the wizarding world, its history, its culture, its magic. Remus gave her books. Sirius taught her that rules existed to be questioned. Harry, delighted to have a friend, followed her everywhere. The Grangers watched their daughter bloom. At school, Hermione had been isolated, mocked for her intelligence and her intensity. At Grimmauld Place, she was celebrated. Remus fed her curiosity. Sirius taught her to be confident without being dismissive. Harry gave her something she'd never had: unconditional acceptance. By age 8, Hermione was spending weeks at a time at Grimmauld Place. By age 10, she had her own room there. 3rd floor, painted blue at her request, lined with bookshelves. The Grangers never disappeared. They remained loving, involved parents, but they recognized that their daughter belonged to a world they could never fully enter. And Hermione, brilliant and pragmatic even as a child, understood that she had 2 families now: the Grangers, who'd given her life, and the Blacks, who'd given her magic. Harry took to calling her his sister when he was 7. Hermione corrected him. I'm not legally your sister. Don't care, Harry said. You're my sister anyway. Then she hugged him. Okay. Remus, watching from the doorway, felt something in his chest crack and heal simultaneously. Sirius, standing beside him, put a hand on his shoulder. We have a family, Moony. The Marauder curriculum. By the time Harry was 8 and Hermione was 9, their education had progressed far beyond what any Hogwarts first year would know. Sirius taught them dueling, not just spells, tactics, how to move in combat, how to use the environment, how to chain spells together in rapid succession, the way James Potter had done during Snape's worst memory, flowing from Expelliarmus to Impedimenta, to Levicorpus, without breaking rhythm. Magic is like jazz, Sirius explained during one lesson. Harry and Hermione stood in the Grimmauld Place drawing room, cushions hovering around them as targets. You learn the notes first, then you learn to improvise. The best duelists aren't the ones who memorized the most spells. They're the ones who fight unpredictably. He demonstrated, a shield charm that transitioned mid-cast into a summoning charm, pulling a cushion toward him, which he then transfigured into a wall between himself and his opponent. That's Marauder style. Harry and Hermione practiced until they could do it in their sleep. Remus taught them theory, the why behind the how, why wand movements mattered, why incantations shaped magical flow, why intent was the foundation of all magic. Wandless magic, Remus said during one lesson, when Harry was 9, is possible because intent is primary. The wand is a tool that focuses and amplifies. But the magic comes from you. Watch. He held out his hand. A blue flame appeared in his palm. No wand, no words. Lumos without a wand, Hermione breathed. Exactly. It takes more concentration, more willpower. But it's possible. And in combat, when your wand's been disarmed, it might save your life. They practiced wandless magic for years. By age 10, Harry could summon small objects without a wand. Hermione could produce light. The Patronus charm was introduced when Harry turned 11. It's advanced magic, Remus warned. Most wizards never achieve a corporeal Patronus. It requires a genuinely happy memory, not contentment, but joy, real joy, he demonstrated. Silver light erupted from his wand, forming a wolf, proud and strong, nothing like the self-loathing Remus usually felt toward his condition. Think of your happiest memory, Remus instructed. Focus on it completely. Feel it, then cast. Harry thought of Sirius teaching him to fly, of Hermione laughing at one of his jokes, of Remus reading aloud by the fire. Expecto Patronum. Not corporeal yet, but more than most wizards achieved on their first attempt. Hermione, fiercely competitive, concentrated harder. Her happiest memory, the day Harry called her his sister. Expecto Patronum. Brilliant, Remus said, genuine pride in his voice. Both of you. We'll keep practicing. By the time they left for Hogwarts at age 11, both Harry and Hermione could produce corporeal patronuses. A stag for Harry, exactly like his father's, and an otter for Hermione, playful, intelligent, resourceful. The animagus training began when they were 12. This is dangerous, Sirius warned. The process takes years. If you do it wrong, you could get stuck mid-transformation. You could lose your mind. Your father and I, we had each other, but we were young and stupid. We're young and have you, Harry countered. That's better. Flattery will get you everywhere, Sirius said. Fine. Here's how it works. He explained the process. The mandrake leaf held in the mouth for a full lunar cycle, the complex potion brewed with death's head hawk moth chrysalis, and dew untouched by sunlight. The incantation, Amato Animo Animato Animagus, recited at every sunrise and sunset for months, and finally drinking the blood-red potion during a lightning storm. The animal form isn't chosen, Remus added. It's determined by your personality, your inner nature. You don't get to pick. What if I turn into something useless? Hermione asked. Like a goldfish. Then you'll be a very intelligent goldfish, Sirius said. But I doubt it. Start with the theory. Master that. Then we'll begin the practical work when you're 13. They studied animagus transformation for 2 years before attempting the process. At age 14, Harry became a stag. Magnificent antlers, powerful build, exactly like his father's animagus form, and Patronus. At age 15, Hermione became an otter. Sleek, clever, water-adapted, fierce despite her small size. Sirius cried the first time he saw Harry's stag form. Remus found him later in the library, staring at nothing. He looks just like James, Sirius whispered. He's not James, Remus said gently. He's Harry, better than James in some ways. Because he has you, Sirius gripped Remus's hand. We did good, didn't we? Raising them? Yes, Remus said. Growing up with the wolf? Every full moon, Remus Lupin locked himself in the reinforced basement room at Grimmauld Place and transformed into a werewolf. Before Wolfsbane Potion, the transformations were agony. Harry and Hermione, even as small children, learned to recognize the pattern. 3 days before the moon, Remus would grow quiet and gray-faced. 2 days before, he'd snap at small things. 1 day before, he'd isolate himself. The night of the transformation, they'd hear howling from the basement, terrible, agonized sounds that made them both cry when they were very young. The morning after, they'd find Remus emerging, bandaged, exhausted, sometimes with injuries where he'd bitten or clawed himself. Sirius explained it to them when Harry was 6 and Hermione was 7. Remus is a werewolf, Sirius said gently. They sat in the kitchen, Remus asleep upstairs. When he was 4 years old, a very bad werewolf named Fenrir Greyback bit him. Now, once a month during the full moon, Remus transforms into a wolf. He can't control it, and it hurts him. Is he dangerous? Harry asked. The wolf is dangerous, Sirius corrected. Remus is not. That's why he locks himself away, to protect everyone. That's not fair, Hermione said, her young voice fierce. He didn't choose to be bitten. No, he didn't. But the wizarding world punishes him anyway. There are laws that make it almost impossible for werewolves to get jobs. People are terrified of them. And that's wrong. But it's reality, Sirius smiled sadly. Yes, it is. When they were older, 10 and 11, they asked if they could help. There's a potion, Remus explained. Wolfsbane Potion. It allows me to keep my human mind during the transformation. I don't lose control. I don't hurt myself. But it's expensive and difficult to brew. Can we afford it? Hermione asked. Sirius's vault has more than enough, Remus said. But finding someone willing to brew it regularly is difficult. Severus Snape brewed it for me once, during my year teaching at Hogwarts. But we're not on good terms. Then I'll learn to brew it, Hermione said immediately. It's Newt-level potions, Remus warned. One of the most complex brews in existence. I don't care. I'll learn. And she did. By age 16, Hermione Granger could brew Wolfsbane Potion flawlessly. Every month she prepared it for Remus. Every month he transformed in the basement, still in pain, still isolated, but with his mind intact. Thank you, Remus said to her once, his voice rough. You have no idea what this means. This is what family does. The experience fundamentally shaped both Harry and Hermione. They grew up understanding that prejudice was a lie told by people who'd never shared a kitchen with the thing they feared. They learned that institutions could be deeply fundamentally wrong. They learned that fighting unjust systems wasn't rebellion. It was responsibility. When Hermione founded her organization for creature rights at age 14, SPEW, Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare, though she later expanded it to include all magical creatures, it surprised no one. When Harry punched a student in 5th year for calling Remus a beast, Sirius didn't punish him. He just said, "Next time, use a stinging hex. Leaves less evidence." Remus, caught between exasperation and pride, gave up trying to teach them not to fight prejudice and focused instead on teaching them to fight it effectively. September 1st, 1991. Platform 9 3/4. Harry and Hermione stood on platform 9 3/4, surrounded by their trunks and owls, looking at the Hogwarts Express with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Sirius checked Harry's trunk for the 3rd time. Wand, books, map, all there? Invisibility cloak? Yes. Two-way mirror. In my pocket. Sirius pulled out an ornate hand mirror. Its twin was in Harry's trunk. If you need anything at all, you call me. Understood? Remus handed Hermione a package wrapped in brown paper. First edition of Hogwarts. A history. Thought you might appreciate it. Hermione's eyes went wide. Remus, this must have cost nothing compared to what you've given us. Remus said gently. Both of you, you've made these last 10 years worth living. Harry hugged him fiercely. Hermione followed. Sirius, not to be outdone, pulled them both into a group hug that lasted until the train's whistle blew. Go, Sirius said, voice rough. Learn things. Break rules. Make us proud. Not too many rules, Remus added. Definitely break some rules, Sirius amended. You're marauders. It's in the blood. Found a compartment. Leaned out the window. We'll write every day, Hermione called. Use the mirror if there's trouble, Sirius called back. The train began to move. Sirius and Remus stood on the platform, watching, until the Hogwarts Express disappeared around the bend. They'll be fine, Remus said. Doesn't make it easier. No, it doesn't. The sorting. The Great Hall was exactly as magnificent as the books had described. Floating candles, enchanted ceiling showing the night sky. 4 long tables filled with students watching the first years with interest. Harry and Hermione stood in line with the other first years, waiting for the sorting. A patched wizard's hat sat on a stool at the front of the hall. As they watched, it opened a rip near its brim and began to sing about the 4 houses. Gryffindor for the brave, Hufflepuff for the loyal, Ravenclaw for the clever, Slytherin for the ambitious. Abbott, Hannah, Professor McGonagall called. The sorting began. Students were called alphabetically. Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Slytherin. McGonagall placed the hat on her head. The hat was silent for nearly 4 minutes. A hat stall. Inside Hermione's mind, the hat spoke. Fascinating. Brilliant mind. One of the finest I've encountered in decades. Ravenclaw would suit you perfectly. The thirst for knowledge, the analytical precision. I know, Hermione thought. But I don't want Ravenclaw. No? Then where do you see yourself? Gryffindor. It's my family's house. Sirius, Remus, James, Lily. They were all Gryffindors. I belong with them. Family loyalty over intellectual pursuits. Interesting. You value bravery and loyalty over pure knowledge, then? I value all of them. But if I have to choose, yes, there are more important things than books and cleverness. Friendship, bravery, doing what's right even when it's hard. The hat chuckled. You've been well taught. Very well. Gryffindor. The Gryffindor table erupted in applause. Hermione walked over, relief flooding through her. Several students later, Potter, Harry. The whispers started immediately. Harry walked to the stool, very aware that every eye in the hall was on him. The boy who lived. The child who defeated Voldemort. McGonagall placed the hat on his head. Ah, yes, the hat said immediately. Harry Potter, I've been waiting for you. Difficult. Very difficult. Plenty of courage, I see. Not a bad mind either. And a thirst to prove yourself. But where to put you? Gryffindor, Harry thought firmly. Like my parents. Like Sirius and Remus. Your father and mother were both Gryffindors, true. But you have qualities that would serve you well in Slytherin. Cunning, resourcefulness, a certain disregard for rules. Marauder rules, Harry corrected. Not Slytherin rules. I want Gryffindor. You're certain? Slytherin could help you on the way to greatness. I'm certain. The hat barely paused. Well then? Gryffindor. The Gryffindor table exploded. Harry walked over and sat next to Hermione, who grinned at him. Together, she whispered. Always, Harry whispered back. The sorting continued. Weasley, Ronald, went to Gryffindor and sat across from Harry and Hermione, looking relieved. I'm Ron, he said. Ron Weasley. You're Harry Potter, aren't you? That's what they tell me, Harry said. Blimey. Can I see your scar? Harry pushed his hair back, revealing the lightning bolt. Ron stared. Hermione rolled her eyes. It's just a scar, Ron. Just a scar. That's the scar you know who gave him. Voldemort, Harry corrected. His name is Voldemort. Fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself. You shouldn't say his name. Why not? He's dead, and even if he weren't, I'm not going to be afraid of a name. Ron looked uncertain, but impressed. I suppose that makes sense. Where'd you learn that? Sirius Black and Remus Lupin. The Sirius Black? The one who was in Azkaban? He was never supposed to be in Azkaban. He was innocent. Peter Pettigrew was the traitor, not Sirius. I knew that. My dad works at the Ministry. He said the whole thing was a scandal. Ron looked at Hermione. And you? Hermione Granger. I'm Muggle-born. Really? You don't seem like, Ron floundered. You just seem like you know a lot about magic. I've been studying since I was 6, Hermione said. Sirius and Remus taught me. You grew up together? Ron's eyes widened. Like brother and sister? Exactly like that, Harry said. Ron grinned. That's brilliant. I've got 5 brothers and a sister. Never get a moment's peace. But it's better than being alone, I reckon. They ate and talked, and by the time dessert vanished, Ron Weasley had become their first Hogwarts friend. Snape's worst nightmare. The first potions class took place in the dungeons on Friday morning. Harry and Hermione arrived early, sitting together at a desk near the front. Ron sat beside them. When Severus Snape swept into the room, his black robes billowing behind him, Harry felt Hermione tense beside him. Snape took roll in a bored voice, pausing at Harry's name. Ah, yes, Harry Potter, our new celebrity. Harry kept his expression neutral. Remus had warned him about Snape. Brilliant potions master, former Death Eater given a second chance by Dumbledore, harbored complicated feelings about James Potter and Sirius Black. Snape began his speech about the art of potion making. I can teach you how to bottle fame, brew glory, even stopper death, if you aren't as big a bunch of dunderheads as I usually have to teach. Potter. What would I get if I added powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood? Harry had memorized this months ago. Remus had made him read the textbook twice before school started. The draught of living death, sir. A powerful sleeping potion. Snape's expression flickered. Surprise. Quickly masked. And where would you look if I asked you to find me a bezoar? In the stomach of a goat, sir. It's an antidote to most poisons. What is the difference between monkshood and wolfsbane? Also called aconite. All parts are poisonous, but it's used in several potions, including wolfsbane potion, which allows werewolves to maintain their human minds during transformation. The classroom went silent. Hermione's hand had been raised for every question, but Harry had beaten her to all 3 answers. More importantly, he'd mentioned wolfsbane potion, the brew that helped Remus. And Snape, who had brewed it for Remus during his teaching year, knew exactly why Harry would know that. 5 points from Gryffindor for being an insufferable know-it-all, Potter, Snape said coldly. Sir, I was answering your questions. Don't talk back to me. Another 5 points. Harry fell silent, but his jaw was tight. Beside him, Hermione's hand was clenched on her quill. Potter, Snape said softly, moving closer. You are exactly like your father. Arrogant. Entitled. Thinking the rules don't apply to you because you're famous. I'm not like my father, sir, Harry said carefully. I've never met him. But Sirius says he was brave and loyal and died protecting his family. If that's arrogant, then I suppose I am like him. Snape's face went white with fury. Detention. Tomorrow evening. My office. After class, Ron exploded. That was completely unfair. You answered his questions correctly. He hates me because I look like my dad, Harry said. Sirius warned me, said Snape and my father had history. What kind of history? The kind where my dad was a bully and Snape was his target. Harry's voice was quiet. Sirius told me the truth. My dad wasn't perfect. He did things he shouldn't have. Snape remembers that. And every time he looks at me, he sees James Potter. That's not fair to you, Hermione said fiercely. No, but fairness has nothing to do with it. Harry touched the mirror in his pocket, the two-way communication device connected to Sirius. Come on, we'll be late for Transfiguration. The Stone Crisis. The incident with the troll happened on Halloween, exactly as it did in the original timeline. Professor Quirrell burst into the Great Hall screaming about a troll in the dungeons. Dumbledore ordered students to return to their dormitories, but when Harry and Ron reached Gryffindor Tower, Hermione wasn't there. She's in the bathroom, Ron said, going pale. I was an idiot at lunch, said she was a nightmare. She's been crying there all afternoon. The bathroom, Harry repeated. Where the troll is. They looked at each other. We have to warn her, Ron said. Harry's hand went to the mirror in his pocket. He could call Sirius right now. Get adult help. That would be the smart, strategic thing to do. But Hermione was his sister, and if the troll reached her before help arrived? Let's go, Harry said. They ran toward the bathroom, following the stench of rotting garbage. Found the troll, 12 feet tall, massive club raised, cornering Hermione against the sinks. Harry's training kicked in immediately. Assess threat. Troll low intelligence, thick hide resistant to most spells, vulnerable to coordination. Advantages? Surprise, magical knowledge, Ron's presence. Ron, distract it, Harry shouted. Wingardium Leviosa on the club. Ron's wand jabbed forward. The club jerked upward out of the troll's grip, hovered, then crashed down on the creature's skull with a sickening crunch. The troll swayed. Harry didn't hesitate. Stupefy, the stunning spell, which first years weren't supposed to know, hit the troll square in the chest. Combined with the head injury, it was enough. The troll collapsed. Hermione scrambled to her feet and ran to them, tears streaming down her face. You saved me. You could have been killed. Of course we came for you, Harry said, hugging her. You're my sister. Professors arrived moments later. McGonagall, Snape, and Quirrell. McGonagall looked furious and terrified. What were you thinking? You could have died. Hermione was in danger, Harry said simply. We weren't going to leave her. 5 points will be taken from each of you for recklessness, McGonagall said. Then her expression softened slightly. But you showed remarkable bravery, and Mr. Potter, that was an impressive stunning spell for a first year. 10 points to Gryffindor. Each. After the professors left, Harry pulled out his mirror. Sirius Black, he said. Sirius's face appeared immediately, looking worried. Harry, what's wrong? Why would a troll get into Hogwarts on Halloween? Sirius's expression went hard. Good question. Stay alert. And Harry, don't investigate alone. Promise me. I promise. But Harry had already noticed what the adults missed. When the professors arrived, Snape had been limping and his robes were torn, as if something had bitten him. Discovering the stone, the mystery of what was hidden on the 3rd floor consumed Harry and Hermione for weeks. They researched in the library, asked careful questions, put together pieces. Nicholas Flamel, 665 years old. The Philosopher's Stone, which could produce the elixir of life. A break-in at Gringotts on Harry's birthday. Vault 713, emptied earlier that same day by Hagrid on Dumbledore's orders. Dumbledore moved the stone from Gringotts to Hogwarts, Hermione said during one late-night discussion in the common room. Someone tried to steal it from the bank, so he's protecting it here. But who's trying to steal it? Ron asked. Snape, Harry said. He was bitten by the 3-headed dog guarding the 3rd floor. I saw his leg. Or he was trying to stop whoever is trying to steal it, Hermione countered. We don't know for sure. Either way, someone's after the stone, Harry said. And I think it's Quirrell. He's terrified of his own shadow, which makes him the perfect suspect. No one would suspect him. Harry's eyes narrowed. I think Voldemort's involved somehow. Maybe possessing Quirrell or controlling him. That's a serious accusation, Hermione said. I know, which is why we need proof before we tell anyone. They investigated carefully, used the invisibility cloak Harry had inherited from James to scout the third floor, discovered that the protections guarding the stone were layered: a three-headed dog that fell asleep to music, devil's snare that hated light, flying keys, a giant chess set, a logic puzzle, and finally, the Mirror of Erised. These are designed to be passable by students, Hermione realized. Dumbledore's testing someone. Or setting a trap, Harry said. The crisis came in June, during exam period. Harry had a vision. Not quite a dream, more like a window opening in his mind. He saw Quirrell standing before the Mirror of Erised, demanding something. Saw a face on the back of Quirrell's head. Heard a high, cold voice, "Get the stone, you fool." Sirius Black. Sirius appeared immediately. "Harry, it's 3 a.m. Voldemort's at Hogwarts. He's possessing Quirrell. He's going after the stone tonight." Sirius's face went hard. "I'm coming." "Don't do anything stupid, Sirius." But Sirius had already vanished. Harry looked at Hermione, who'd woken when he shouted, "He's coming. We just need to hold on until—" "Until what?" Hermione demanded. "Harry, if Voldemort gets the stone, then we stop him. We're 11 years old. We're Marauder trained," Harry corrected, "and we're not going alone." He woke Ron, explained the situation. Ron, to his credit, grabbed his wand without hesitation. "Let's go get a Dark Lord then." The confrontation. They descended through the trapdoor together. The three-headed dog, Fluffy, was already asleep, music playing from a harp. Someone had been here recently. The devil's snare tried to grab them. Hermione produced light. Lumos Solem, and it recoiled. They dropped through to the next chamber. The flying keys swarmed. Harry, on his broom, caught the correct key in under a minute. His seeker skills, honed by years of flying with Sirius, made it trivial. The chess set was Ron's domain. He directed them brilliantly, sacrificing pieces with ruthless efficiency. When the opposing queen cornered his knight, Ron made the necessary choice. "Harry, when I move, you'll have checkmate. Take the king." Ron moved. The queen struck him down, unconscious but alive. Harry took the king. Checkmate. Hermione stayed with Ron. "Go," she said. "We'll get help." "But Harry, don't die, all right? Sirius will kill me if you die." Harry grinned, despite the fear. "I'll try not to." Quirrell stood before the Mirror of Erised. On the back of his head, where his turban had been removed, was a face, flat, serpentine, with red eyes. "Voldemort. Harry Potter," the face hissed. "How nice of you to join us." Harry raised his wand. "Stupefy." Quirrell blocked it easily. "Foolish boy, you cannot defeat you," Harry said. "I just need to delay you." "Delay me?" Voldemort laughed. A cold, terrible sound. "For what?" "No one is coming to save you. That's where you're wrong." Sirius Black and Remus Lupin burst into the chamber, wands raised. "Get away from my godson," Sirius snarled. Quirrell spun, casting the killing curse. Sirius deflected it with a shield charm and fired back. A blasting curse that forced Quirrell to dodge. Remus moved like water, casting spell after spell in rapid succession. Quirrell was skilled, but he was fighting 2 battle-tested marauders who'd survived the first war. "Harry, the mirror," Remus shouted. Harry understood. He approached the Mirror of Erised, looked into it. His reflection stared back. But unlike the reflection, Harry wasn't alone. Standing behind him were his parents, James and Lily, and Sirius and Remus, and Hermione. All the people he loved. His reflection smiled, reached into its pocket, pulled out a blood-red stone, winked, put it back. Harry felt weight in his real pocket. The stone. "I have it!" Harry shouted. "Then run," Sirius roared. Harry ran. Quirrell tried to grab him, but the moment Quirrell's hand touched Harry's skin, Quirrell screamed. His hand was burning, blistering. The smell of cooking flesh filled the chamber. "What is this?" Voldemort shrieked. "My mother's protection," Harry gasped. "She died to save me, and you can't touch someone protected by that kind of love." The professor collapsed. Voldemort's wraith, dark smoke, formless and terrible, erupted from Quirrell's body and fled through the wall. "He's gone," Remus said quietly. "Not dead," Sirius corrected. "Just displaced. But we won this round." Dumbledore arrived moments later, looking grim but unsurprised. "You called for help," he said to Harry. "That was wise, Sirius taught me. When you're outmatched, get back up." Dumbledore smiled. Your father would be proud. Both of your fathers. Sirius pulled Harry into a hug. Don't ever scare me like that again. I'll try, Harry said. Trying isn't good enough. Promise. I promise. Remus joined the hug. You did well, Harry. You all did. Year 2, the Chamber of Secrets. The second year began with a mystery, a message written in blood on a corridor wall. The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware. Mrs. Norris Filch's cat was found petrified beneath it. Chamber of Secrets, Hermione muttered, already pulling books from the library. I've read about this. Salazar Slytherin supposedly built a secret chamber in Hogwarts. Inside is a monster that only the heir of Slytherin can control. What kind of monster? Ron asked. Hermione flipped through pages. It doesn't say, but given that students are being petrified, not killed, they're seeing it indirectly somehow, through a reflection or a ghost. More attacks followed. Colin Creevey, Justin Finch-Fletchley, nearly headless Nick. Harry began hearing a voice in the walls, a cold, hissing voice that no one else could hear. Rip, tear, kill. When Harry mentioned this during a mirror call with Sirius's expression went sharp. A voice only you can hear. In the walls. Harry, can you understand it? Yes, it's speaking English. No, it's speaking Parseltongue, the language of snakes. And you're understanding it because... Sirius stopped. Voldemort was a Parselmouth. When he tried to kill you, some of his abilities might have transferred. Can you speak it? Harry tried, focused on the memory of the voice, and heard himself hiss, open. The sound wasn't English. It was serpentine, sibilant, utterly inhuman. Merlin, Sirius breathed. You're a Parselmouth. Harry, that means... The Chamber of Secrets is accessed through Parseltongue. And the monster is a snake, Hermione finished, looking up from her books with wide eyes. A big one, that kills with its gaze but petrifies through indirect viewing. There's only one creature that fits, a basilisk. A what? Ron asked. King of serpents, 60 feet long, kills with direct eye contact. Its venom is one of the most deadly substances in existence. Hermione's hands were shaking. And it's been moving through the pipes. That's why Harry hears it in the walls. They mirrored Sirius immediately. Within an hour, Sirius and Remus were at Hogwarts, meeting with Dumbledore. But the situation was more complicated than a simple monster hunt. Someone's controlling the basilisk, Dumbledore said gravely, opening the chamber, commanding it to attack. The question is, who? The answer came when Hermione was petrified. She was found clutching a piece of paper torn from a book about basilisks, with one word written in her handwriting, pipes, and a small black diary that no one recognized. Harry picked up the diary, opened it. The pages were blank. He wrote, "Hello?" Words appeared in response. "Hello, Harry Potter. My name is Tom Riddle." The diary was a trap, a Horcrux, though Harry didn't know that term yet. It showed him memories. Tom Riddle at 16, showing Harry how Hagrid had supposedly opened the chamber 50 years ago. But Harry, trained in skepticism by Sirius and Remus, didn't trust it. "This diary is showing me what it wants me to see," Harry told Sirius through the mirror. "It's manipulative, and it's connected to the chamber somehow." "Bring it to Dumbledore," Sirius said immediately. But before Harry could, Ginny Weasley disappeared. A message appeared on the wall. Her skeleton will lie in the chamber forever. Harry found the entrance in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, a sink marked with a tiny serpent. "Open," he hissed in Parseltongue. The sink descended, revealing a pipe. Harry looked at Ron. "Get Dumbledore. I'm going after her. Harry, she's Ron's sister, and I'm the only one who can speak Parseltongue. I have to go." Ron nodded and ran for help. Harry descended into the chamber alone. The chamber was vast, a long corridor lined with serpent statues, ending in a massive statue of Salazar Slytherin. Ginny Weasley lay unconscious at its base, and standing over her was Tom Riddle. "Solid, real. Harry Potter," Riddle said. "Thank you for bringing me the diary. Ginny's been pouring her life into it for months, almost enough to make me corporeal." "Let her go," Harry said, wand raised. "I don't think so. She's almost drained. Another few minutes and I'll be fully alive. And then," Riddle smiled, "then I'll finish what I started 16 years ago. You're Voldemort," Harry realized. A memory of him, from when he was a student. Very good. I am Lord Voldemort, the greatest sorcerer in the world. Riddle hissed a command in Parseltongue. From the mouth of Slytherin's statue emerged a basilisk, 60 feet of serpent, eyes glowing green. Kill the boy, Riddle commanded. Harry closed his eyes immediately. Looking at the basilisk meant death, but fighting blind was suicide. Then he heard a sound. The Phoenix Song of Fawkes. Dumbledore's phoenix arrived, carrying the sorting hat. The bird flew at the basilisk, clawing at its eyes with razor-sharp talons. Harry grabbed the hat desperately. Something heavy fell into it. He reached inside and pulled out a sword. Silver, ruby-encrusted. The sword of Gryffindor. The basilisk lunged, blinded but still deadly. Harry rolled aside, using sound to track it. When it lunged again, Harry drove the sword upward through the roof of its mouth, into its brain. The basilisk convulsed. One of its fangs broke off, piercing Harry's arm. Pain exploded through him. Basilisk venom, one of the most deadly substances in existence. Riddle was laughing. You killed the basilisk, but doomed yourself. The venom will kill you in minutes. Harry grabbed the broken fang with his good hand, stumbled toward the diary lying next to Ginny. What are you? Riddle's eyes widened. No. Harry drove the fang through the diary. Ink spurted like blood. Riddle screamed, an inhuman sound, and his form began to dissipate, torn apart by the destruction of his Horcrux vessel. You'll regret this, Potter. Riddle's voice was fading. He'll come back, stronger than ever. Then he was gone. The diary fell apart, destroyed. Fawkes landed beside Harry, tears streaming from its eyes onto the wound. Phoenix tears, the antidote to basilisk venom. The pain receded. Harry took a shaking breath. Ginny stirred. Harry, what happened? You're safe, Harry said. That's all that matters. Dumbledore arrived moments later with Sirius, Remus, and Ron. Sirius pulled Harry into a crushing hug. You're alive. You're an idiot, but you're alive. Ginny needed help. I know, and you did the right thing. But next time you bring backup first. I'll try. Not good enough. Promise. Harry smiled despite the exhaustion. I promise. But that night, alone in his dormitory, Harry stared at the destroyed diary and wondered, what had Riddle meant by he'll come back? Year 3, the werewolf Prejudice. The third year didn't feature Sirius escaping from Azkaban, because Sirius had never been imprisoned. Instead, it featured Remus Lupin as the defense against the dark arts professor. Dumbledore offered him the position in the summer before Harry's third year. Remus hesitated. The curse on the position is real, Dumbledore confirmed. No teacher has lasted more than a year. But you're the finest defense teacher I've ever known, Remus. The students deserve you. What about my condition? When people find out, then we'll handle it, Dumbledore said. You have as much right to teach as anyone. Practical, engaging, challenging. He taught third years to face boggarts by choosing Neville first, building the boy's confidence after years of being told he was worthless. Harry and Hermione already knew everything he taught, but they watched him with fierce pride. This was their Remus, brilliant, patient, kind, showing the entire school what they'd always known. The revelation came in February. Someone, Snape most likely, let slip to a parent that Remus was a werewolf. The parent complained to the ministry. The Daily Prophet ran a front-page story. WERU elf teaching at Hogwarts. Are our children safe? The howlers started arriving during breakfast, parents demanding Remus's resignation, students whispering in corridors. Harry stood up at the Gryffindor table. Professor Lupin is the best defense teacher this school has ever had, Harry said loudly. He's taught us more in 6 months than we'd learn in 3 years with anyone else. And if you want to expel him for being a werewolf, for something he didn't choose and can't control, then you're cowards. Hear, hear, Hermione shouted, standing beside him. Half the Gryffindor table stood with them, then some Ravenclaws, then even a few Hufflepuffs. But it didn't matter. The ministry, pushed by Dolores Umbridge's anti-werewolf legislation, forced Remus to resign. His last day, students lined the corridors to say goodbye. Remus stopped in front of Harry and Hermione. Thank you, he said quietly, for fighting for me. We'll keep fighting, Hermione said fiercely. This isn't over. No, Remus agreed. It isn't. But the fight is bigger than one teaching position. This is about every werewolf who's been denied work, been called a monster, been treated as less than human. If you want to change that, you'll need more than passion. You'll need strategy. Hermione's eyes went bright with determination. Then I'll learn strategy. The Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare, but expanded it to include all magical creatures. Harry joined immediately. So did Ron. By their 4th year, SPEW had 50 members and was lobbying the Ministry for Creature Rights legislation. Hermione Granger, at 14, became a political force, and Remus Lupin, watching from Grimmauld Place, smiled with quiet pride. The Horcrux revelation. The summer after 3rd year, everything changed. Harry and Hermione were in the Grimmauld Place library researching werewolf rights legislation when Creature shuffled in, carrying a dusty locket. Master Sirius, Creature croaked. Creature has been cleaning the drawing room. Creature found this. It belonged to Master Regulus. Sirius looked up from the Daily Prophet. Regulus's locket. I thought we threw out all his Death Eater memorabilia years ago. Master Regulus gave this to Creature, the elf said. His voice cracked. Master Regulus ordered Creature to destroy it, but Creature could not. Creature has failed Master Regulus. Remus stood up immediately. Regulus gave you this? When? The night Master Regulus died. He went to a cave with the Dark Lord, came back alone, told Creature to destroy the locket and never tell anyone. Creature's eyes filled with tears, but Creature could not destroy it. Creature tried. Nothing worked. Sirius took the locket carefully. It was gold set with emeralds, engraved with an ornate S. The moment his fingers touched it, his expression darkened. This is dark magic. Really dark magic. He looked at Remus. Can you feel it? Remus touched the locket and flinched. It's wrong. Corrupted. Like it's alive, Hermione finished, staring at it with wide eyes. It feels alive. Harry reached for it. The moment his fingers brushed the metal, his scar exploded with pain. He gasped and pulled back. Harry? Sirius was at his side immediately. What's wrong? Like it does when I dream about Voldemort. Harry's voice was shaking. Sirius, that locket is connected to him somehow. The headmaster examined the locket in his office, his expression growing graver by the moment. Finally, he looked up. This is a Horcrux, Dumbledore said quietly. One of the darkest magical artifacts in existence. Created by murder, used to anchor a piece of the Creator's soul to the physical world. As long as even one Horcrux exists, the Creator cannot truly die. Voldemort made this, Sirius said. It wasn't a question. I believe so. And if Regulus discovered it, if he tried to destroy it and died in the attempt, then he was far braver than anyone knew. Dumbledore's eyes were sad. The question is, how many did Voldemort create? More than one, Remus asked. Almost certainly. Creating a Horcrux requires splitting your soul through murder. Most dark wizards stop at one. The act is so damaging that even they balk at repeating it. But Voldemort was not most dark wizards. Dumbledore stood and walked to his pensieve. I have spent years researching this. I believe Voldemort created 6 Horcruxes, splitting his soul into 7 pieces, the most powerful number in magic. 6? Hermione's voice was faint. Then even if we destroy this one, 5 more would remain. Yes. Dumbledore turned to face them. This is the war we must fight now. Not against Voldemort directly. He is still a wraith hiding in Albania, growing weaker each year, but against his Horcruxes. We must find them and destroy them. Only then can he be killed permanently. What are they? Sirius asked. The other Horcruxes. The diary that possessed Ginny Weasley was one. Harry destroyed it with a basilisk fang in the Chamber of Secrets. Dumbledore pulled items from his desk. This ring belonged to Voldemort's grandfather. I retrieved it from the ruins of the Gaunt family home. It is also a Horcrux. That is 2 destroyed, including this locket, once we manage it. How do we destroy them? Harry asked. Very few things can destroy a Horcrux. Basilisk venom is one. Fiend fire is another. Cursed fire that consumes everything. But it's wildly dangerous. And this. Dumbledore summoned a sword from a cabinet. The sword of Gryffindor is impregnated with basilisk venom from when Harry stabbed the basilisk. It can destroy Horcruxes. Then we hunt. What are the other 3? I believe one is Helga Hufflepuff's cup, stolen from the vault of Hepzibah Smith. Another is likely Rowena Ravenclaw's diadem, lost for centuries. The last, Dumbledore hesitated. The last is Nagini, Voldemort's snake. She is still with him in Albania. And the seventh piece of soul, Hermione asked, remains in Voldemort's wraith form. Once the Horcruxes are destroyed, he becomes mortal, killable. Harry looked at the locket. Then we destroy them all, starting with this one. Dumbledore nodded. But we must be careful. Methodical. This will take years. The Horcrux hunt. Years 4 and 5. The hunt consumed their 4th and 5th years. Dumbledore destroyed the ring Horcrux using the Sword of Gryffindor, though the process left his hand blackened and cursed, an injury that would eventually kill him, though he told no one. The locket proved more difficult. It whispered to whoever held it, amplifying negative emotions. When Ron wore it during a research session, he lashed out at Harry and Hermione with vicious words he didn't mean. They learned to limit exposure. Finally, in the summer before 5th year, they destroyed it. Harry opened the locket using Parseltongue. Open. And Hermione stabbed it with the Sword of Gryffindor. The locket screamed and bled black smoke before falling silent. Destroyed. 2 down. 3 to go. Hufflepuff's cup was in Bellatrix Lestrange's Gringotts vault, requiring a heist that Sirius planned meticulously. They used Polyjuice Potion, inside knowledge of pureblood banking customs, and sheer audacity. Hermione, disguised as Bellatrix, demanded access to the vault. Sirius and Remus, disguised as Cursebreakers, accompanied her. They retrieved the cup, destroyed it that same night. 3 down. 2 to go. Ravenclaw's diadem was found in the Room of Requirement at Hogwarts during 5th year. Harry remembered Tom Riddle's memory. The diary had shown him Hogwarts in the 1940s, and Riddle had been obsessed with the Founder's artifacts. If he hid something at Hogwarts, Harry reasoned, it would be in a place only he knew, a place he felt was his. The Room of Requirement, which became whatever the user needed, had a form almost no one knew about, the Room of Hidden Things, where students had been hiding objects for centuries. They found the diadem buried under mountains of junk. When Harry touched it, his scar burned viciously. "This is it," Harry said. They destroyed it with fiend fire. Hermione cast the curse with surgical precision, controlling the flames just long enough to consume the diadem before extinguishing them. 4 down. 1 to go. Nagini, the snake, remained with Voldemort in Albania. But then, in the spring of Harry's 5th year, everything accelerated. Voldemort's return. The Death Eater, who found Voldemort, was Bellatrix Lestrange. She'd escaped Azkaban during a prisoner transfer, killed 3 Aurors, and disappeared into Eastern Europe. For months, the Ministry hunted her. They didn't realize she'd gone to Albania deliberately, searching for her master using the residual connection of the dark mark on her arm. She found him, a wraith, barely conscious, clinging to life through sheer willpower, and the remaining Horcruxes, and she offered her flesh willingly for the resurrection ritual. The ritual was performed in the graveyard at Little Hangleton, where Tom Riddle Sr. was buried. Bellatrix used the bones of Voldemort's father, her own severed hand, and the blood of a captured Auror, forcibly taken, satisfying the enemy requirement. Lord Voldemort returned to corporeal form, weaker than he would have been with all 7 Horcruxes intact. Only 2 remained now, Nagini and the piece in his wraith form, but alive, solid, dangerous. His first act was to summon his Death Eaters through the dark mark. His second Wizarding War began not with subtlety, but with an attack on Diagon Alley. Death Eaters in masks, casting killing curses, burning shops. 23 dead, 60 injured. The Wizarding world, which had enjoyed 14 years of peace, was plunged back into chaos. The 3 hated threat, but Voldemort's return was only one of 3 converging threats. Fenrir Greyback, the werewolf who had bitten Remus Lupin as a child, had spent years building his own movement. With Voldemort gone, Greyback had filled the power vacuum, recruiting werewolves through promises of revenge against Wizarding Society, building a faction that practiced violence without ideology, motivated purely by hatred. When Voldemort returned, Greyback didn't kneel. He saw Voldemort as competition. "I don't serve wizards," Greyback snarled during their first meeting. "Not even Dark Lords. Voldemort, weakened and pragmatic, let him go." 2 enemies of the Ministry could coexist without being allies. Greyback's attacks escalated, families targeted during full moons, children bitten deliberately, wizarding communities terrorized, and Greyback had a specific target, Remus Lupin, the werewolf who'd rejected everything Greyback represented. "I made you," Greyback said in a message delivered to Grimmauld Place. I bit you. You're mine. And I'm coming to collect. The third threat was institutional. Dolores Umbridge and the Ministry's corruption. Without Voldemort's dramatic return to galvanize immediate opposition, Umbridge's faction had spent years consolidating power through bureaucracy. Her anti-werewolf legislation had passed. Her Muggle-born registration commission was being proposed. Her vision of a pure wizarding society, not through Death Eater violence, but through legal discrimination, was becoming reality. When Voldemort returned, instead of uniting against him, the Ministry fractured. Some wanted to fight Voldemort. Others, led by Umbridge, insisted the greater threat was internal corruption. Werewolves, Muggle-borns, half-breeds. The Ministry became paralyzed by infighting. Harry, Hermione, and their generation watched adults fail to respond coherently to existential threats. We can't wait for them to fix this, Hermione said during a meeting at Grimmauld Place. SPEW had evolved into something larger, a student resistance movement with chapters at Hogwarts and beyond. We have to act. Against what? Ron asked. Voldemort. Greyback. The Ministry? They're 3 different enemies. Then we fight 3 different wars, Harry said. Sirius, listening from the doorway, felt pride and terror in equal measure. Year 6 preparation. 16-year-old Harry Potter stood in the Grimmauld Place training room, dueling Sirius. Stupefy, Harry shouted. Sirius deflected it casually. Expelliarmus. Harry's wand flew from his hand. He dove for it, rolled, came up casting wandlessly, Protego, and blocked Sirius's follow-up Hex. Better, Sirius said. But you're still thinking too linearly. Combat isn't a checklist. It's chaos. Adapt. They'd been training intensively since Voldemort's return. Not just spells, strategy, tactics, dirty fighting. Sirius taught Harry how James had fought during the war. Aggressive, creative, never where the enemy expected. Remus taught discipline, how to stay calm under pressure, how to read opponents, how to turn disadvantages into advantages. You're smaller than most Death Eaters you'll face, Remus said during one lesson. Use that. Be faster. Be smarter. Make them underestimate you. Hermione's training focused on magic theory and tactics. She'd progressed beyond Newt-level magic, nonverbal casting, wandless magic, spell creation. At 16, she was already theorizing new defensive enchantments. The problem with traditional shields, Hermione explained to Harry and Ron, is they're static. You cast Protego, it blocks. Then it's gone. What if we could layer shields? Create redundancy. She developed a technique, casting multiple shield charms in rapid succession, each one weaker individually, but creating a net effect stronger than a single powerful shield. Brilliant, Remus said when she demonstrated. That's Newt-level thinking. I learned from the best, Hermione said. Their animagus forms proved invaluable. Harry's stag could move quickly through forests. Hermione's otter could navigate water. They used their animal forms for reconnaissance, infiltration, communication. During one mission to scout a suspected Death Eater safehouse, Harry transformed into a stag and approached without triggering wards keyed to humans. Hermione, as an otter, swam through the moat around the property. They were becoming formidable, but they were still children preparing for a war against adults who'd murdered their way through the last conflict. Are we ready? Ron asked one night. No, Sirius said honestly. But we're more ready than the Ministry, more ready than most of the Order. And that'll have to be enough. The prophecy. In the Department of Mysteries, there was a prophecy. Harry learned about it during a meeting with Dumbledore in 6th year. Before you were born, Dumbledore explained, Sybil Trelawney made a prediction. Voldemort heard part of it, the part that led him to target you as an infant. But the full prophecy has remained locked in the Department of Mysteries ever since. What does it say? Harry asked. Dumbledore led him to the Hall of Prophecy. Rows upon rows of glowing spheres, each containing a prediction. He found one labeled SPT to APWBD, Dark Lord, and question_mark, Harry Potter. Only those named in a prophecy can retrieve it, Dumbledore said. Touch it, Harry. The sphere glowed. A ghostly figure of Professor Trelawney appeared, speaking in a voice nothing like her usual flutter. The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approaches. Born to those who have thrice defied him, born as the 7th month dies, and the Dark Lord will mark him as his equal. But he will have power the Dark Lord knows not, and either must die at the hand of the other, for neither can live while the other survives. The prophecy faded. Harry stood in silence, processing. Either must die at the hand of the other, he repeated. I have to kill Voldemort, or he kills me. The prophecy created a connection between you, Dumbledore said gently. When Voldemort marked you with that scar, he fulfilled its terms. But Harry, prophecies are only powerful because people believe them. Voldemort believed it. He made it real through his choices. Does that mean I can choose not to fulfill it? You can choose how you fulfill it. The prophecy says you have a power Voldemort knows not. I believe that power is love. Dumbledore's eyes were sad. You were raised with love. Sirius and Remus gave you something Voldemort never had and can never understand. That is your advantage. Of Sirius teaching him to fly. Of Remus reading by the fire. Of Hermione's laugh. Then love is what I'll use, Harry said. Year 7, the final battles. The war came to a head during Harry's 7th year. 3 fronts, 3 battles, all converging. The Ministry front, Hermione led a political campaign against Umbridge's faction. SPEW had grown into a coalition of students, progressive adults, and marginalized magical beings. They occupied the Ministry atrium, demanding werewolf rights, Muggle-born protections, and Umbridge's resignation. The Prophet called them radicals. Umbridge called them terrorists. They called themselves necessary. We will not be silent while you legislate genocide, Hermione declared from the Ministry steps, her voice magically amplified. We will not stand by while you criminalize existence. We demand justice. We demand equality. And we will not leave until you listen. The occupation lasted 3 weeks. Finally, under pressure from international wizarding governments and the threat of student walkouts across Britain, the Wizengamot passed the Magical Beings Equality Act, granting werewolves, half-breeds, and Muggle-borns protection under law. Umbridge resigned in fury. Hermione Granger, 17 years old, had changed the Ministry through activism, not violence. The Greyback Front. Fenrir Greyback attacked Hogsmeade during a full moon, leading a pack of werewolves in an assault designed to spread terror and bites. Remus Lupin was waiting. He'd taken Wolfsbane potion, brewed by Hermione herself, and stood in human form as Greyback's pack approached. This ends tonight, Remus said. You think you can stop me? Greyback laughed. I made you, you're weak. Pathetic, ashamed of what you are. I'm not ashamed, Remus said quietly. I'm a werewolf. I didn't choose it, but it's part of me. And I've spent my life proving that what I am doesn't define who I am. He raised his wand. You, on the other hand, you chose to be a monster. The duel was brutal. Greyback fought with savagery, Remus with precision. They clashed in the streets of Hogsmeade, spells and physical combat blending. Finally, Remus hit Greyback with a blasting curse that sent the older werewolf crashing through a building wall. It's over, Remus said. Greyback tried to rise. Failed. His pack, seeing their leader defeated, fled. Order members arrested Greyback. He would spend the rest of his life in Azkaban. Remus Lupin, the man told all his life he was a monster, had defeated the monster who'd made him. The Voldemort front, the final Horcrux, Nagini, was destroyed during a battle at Malfoy Manor. Neville Longbottom, who'd grown from the terrified first year into a formidable fighter under Remus's teaching, pulled the sword of Gryffindor from the sorting hat during the battle and beheaded the snake with one clean strike. Voldemort felt it, felt the last Horcrux die, felt his tether to immortality sever. He raged. The final confrontation happened at Hogwarts. Voldemort, now mortal, attacked the school with every Death Eater he could muster, not for tactical reasons, for revenge, for pride, for the principle that he would not be defeated by children. The Battle of Hogwarts lasted through the night. Students fought alongside professors. Order members fought alongside Ministry Aurors. Sirius and Remus fought side by side, just like the First War, protecting the next generation. Harry faced Voldemort in the courtyard. The prophecy says one of us must die, Voldemort hissed. I choose you. The prophecy also says I have power you know not, Harry replied. Want to find out what it is? They dueled. Voldemort was skilled, powerful, ruthless. He'd murdered his way to power, studied dark magic for decades, and feared nothing but death. Harry was 17, trained by 2 marauders, loved by family and fighting for something larger than himself. Voldemort cast the killing curse, Avada Kedavra. Harry cast the disarming charm, Expelliarmus. The spells met mid-air. But this time there was no priori incantatum, no connection of brother wands. Because Voldemort's wand, the Elder Wand, stolen from Dumbledore's tomb, didn't belong to him. It belonged to Harry. The wand lore was complex. Draco Malfoy had disarmed Dumbledore on the astronomy tower during 6th year, becoming the wand's master. Harry had disarmed Draco during a confrontation at Malfoy Manor months ago. The Elder Wand recognized its true master. Voldemort's killing curse rebounded. Tom Riddle fell, dead before he hit the ground. No Horcruxes to anchor him, no immortality to save him, just a mortal man who'd spent his entire life fleeing death, finally caught by it. Harry lowered his wand, exhausted. Hermione ran to him, Sirius and Remus close behind. They pulled him into a hug, family, together, alive. "It's over," Sirius said. "We won," Remus added. "We all won," Harry corrected, looking at the students and professors and order members who'd fought together. Not just us, everyone. 19 years later, Platform 9 3/4 was chaos, as it always was on September 1st. Harry Potter stood with his wife Ginny and their 3 children, watching them board the Hogwarts Express. Beside them, Hermione stood with Ron and their 2 children. Hermione had her arm around Rose, whispering last-minute advice. And remember, Hermione was saying, SPEW is still active at Hogwarts. "If you want to join, Mum," Rose groaned. "I know. You've told me 100 times." Harry's youngest son, Albus Severus, looked nervous. "What if I'm in Slytherin?" he asked. Harry knelt down. "Then you'll be in Slytherin. One of my best friends was in Slytherin. It's not the house that matters, Albus. It's what you do with it." "But what if—" "The Sorting Hat takes your choice into account," Harry said. "If you really don't want Slytherin, tell it." It listened to me, and it agreed. Harry smiled. "You have a choice. You always have a choice." Albus hugged him. "Thanks, Dad." The children boarded. The train began to move. Harry, Hermione, Ron, and Ginny stood on the platform, watching. "They'll be fine," Hermione said. "I know," Harry said. "They have something we didn't have at their age." "What's that?" Ron asked. "Peace." The train disappeared around the bend. That evening, Harry and Hermione had dinner at Grimmauld Place with Sirius and Remus. The house had changed over the years, brighter, warmer, filled with photographs of children and grandchildren, but the bones remained the same. The library still held rare texts, the kitchen still gleamed, the basement still had a reinforced room for full moons, though Wolfsbane potion had made it far less necessary. Albus was nervous, Harry said, helping himself to roast. "Worried about being sorted into Slytherin." "What did you tell him?" Sirius asked. "That it's his choice, that the house doesn't define him." "You've learned well. I had good teachers." They ate in comfortable silence. Then Sirius raised his glass. "To family," he said, "the one we're born into, and the one we choose." Harry looked around the table. At Sirius, gray-haired now but still mischievous. At Remus, older and slower but no less brilliant. At Hermione, who'd become the youngest minister of magic in history, and was currently reforming the entire magical legal system. This was what they'd fought for. Not glory, not fame, not even survival. Family. Love. The simple magic of people showing up for each other again and again, no matter what the world threw at them. Harry thought of James and Lily, who he'd never known but who died to give him a chance at this life. He thought of Tom Riddle, who'd had every advantage and thrown it away because he couldn't understand that love was strength, not weakness. He thought of the prophecy, "He will have power the Dark Lord knows not." Love. That had been the power all along, not a spell or a weapon or a secret technique, just love. Simple, complicated, messy, beautiful love. The kind of love that raised an orphan, that reformed a dark house, that gave a Muggle-born girl a magical family, that fought wars not for conquest, but for protection. The kind of love that in the end saved the world. "What are you thinking about?" Hermione asked quietly. Harry smiled. "How lucky I am, how lucky we all are. Because of everyone, because of every choice that led us here, because of every person who showed up when it mattered." "Thank you," Harry said, "for that night in 1981, for going to Remus instead of going alone, for making the one choice that changed everything." "You're welcome, pup, though I think you would have turned out all right regardless. You're your parents' son. I'm your son too, Harry said. Both of you. In all the ways that matter. Remus reached across the table and squeezed Harry's hand. Sirius put his hand on top. 3 generations of marauders, bound not by blood but by choice. To the family we choose, Harry said. To the family we choose, they echoed. Outside, the London night was dark and cold. Inside Grimmauld Place, the house that had once been a monument to hatred and bigotry, there was warmth and light and laughter. The war was over. The battles were won. The world was healing. And in a kitchen in a townhouse in London, 4 people who'd saved each other, who'd chosen each other, sat together and were simply, perfectly home. Therefore, the tale of how Sirius Black and Remus Lupin raised Harry Potter and Hermione Granger, transforming them from orphans into heroes, from children into revolutionaries, from students into the generation that rebuilt the wizarding world, not through violence alone, but through love, activism, and the unbreakable bond of chosen family. Let us know what you'd like to see next in the comments section below. The end.